If you're losing fights before they even start, it's not your aim, it's your positioning. In Marvel Rivals, where every ability and ultimate counts, poor positioning gets punished fast. But today, I'll break down exactly how to fix that with concepts you can apply instantly, no matter what hero you play. And if you're new here or find yourself coming back on the regular and you aren't already subscribed yet, why not? It's completely free and you're coming back anyways. We're going for the goal of 20,000 subscribers, so might as well join the pond. Also, if you find this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the video out. But without further ado, let's dive straight in. One last thing, if you want 30 days of free coaching, make sure to click the link in the description or the pinned comment, or go to gosuacademy.com/docfilms. From there, there's a ton of classes and guides you can use to improve your Marvel Rivals gameplay. But back to the video. Let's break something down. This is where most players get it wrong. Positioning isn't just hiding behind a wall. That's the bare minimum. Real positioning is about controlling space, forcing enemy decisions, and setting your team up to win fights before they even begin. Positioning is about influence, not just safety. It's not about where you're standing, it's about how your position influences the fight. Can the enemy push through without getting punished? Can your support heal you? Can your duelist actually land damage without dying? When your positioning checks all of these boxes, that's when fights start to go your way. Now, this video is a general positioning guide, and I have much more detailed guides for every specific map in the game, so make sure to check it out every Saturday. Now let's talk about the positional zones: frontline, midline, and backline. Every team fight in Marvel Rivals operates across 3 general lanes. Again, that being frontline, midline, and backline. Now, because I don't have the budget to have any fancy animations, we're using paint. So let's talk about the frontline. This is where tanks and brawlers apply pressure, soak resources, and create space. So I don't have any of that fancy editing software or anything like that, so we're in Canva trying to demonstrate the positional zones. So first we have our frontline. On our team, we have Hulk and Magneto. Again, this doesn't represent any team comps, this is just showing the basics. So basically, again, frontline is where tanks and brawlers apply pressure. You push your Hulk up, he starts taking aggro from the Dr.Strange, and because Hulk can really obliterate Dr. Strange in this current season, the Mantis is going to have to come up and help deal with the Hulk. This makes it so it's essentially a 5v4 because you have 2 characters dealing with 1 tank that's creating pressure. What that allows us to do is to have our Magneto walk up and go on the group. So again, midline is where most DPS heroes operate. You have line of sight to the fight, but you're not the first one in, as again, this is your tank's priority to jump in, create space, create pressure, divert attention, things like that, like I talk about all in my other masterclasses. Now, as your frontliners and tanks walk up, you kind of see a developing buffer zone. There's a space in between where you're a little bit safer when you're playing a duelist. This allows you to go for flanks, gain height, things like that. Then of course we have our backline. This is where your supports and vulnerable DPS play. This is the safe zone, often with clear line of sights but limited mobility. And what I mean by that, as your tanks push up, you have another buffer zone that allows your strategists to roam around so they're not going to get instantly jumped on. There's time to react. Because say a Dr. Strange or Groot can't really capitalize on that space because you have your Hulk or Magneto applying pressure. They're focused on the other tanks. And because of that, it allows the strategist to have amazing line of sight and can easily reposition it if necessary. Again, this is a very crude representation of what I'm trying to explain. I'm sorry. I do everything on my own, so this is kind of what we got. Now, like I talked about in my other masterclasses, more specifically my tank masterclasses, as your tanks walk up on the enemy, it's going to put pressure on the enemy tanks and the rest of the enemy team. They're going to start walking backwards, and then they're in a more confined area. This makes it so it's really easy to go for flanks on strategists, again going around, and the DPS aren't really going to be able to maneuver around because if they were to go for like a wide flank, it's going to be easily seen. It's something you're going to be easy to deal with. Again, things like that. Hopefully this kind of makes sense in a way. It's kind of like a game of chess if you think about it. But moving past that, let's talk about sightlines and cover usage. And honestly, this is where players get caught slacking. If multiple enemies see you at once, your time to die drops fast. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. While smart players will peek from cover to limit exposure. Corners in this game are your friends. They give you information and safety at the same time. If you're peeking from a safe angle, you're forcing 1v1 scenarios. If you're standing in the open, you're taking a 1v6 and probably losing it. Now here's a big reminder, or if you're picking up the game for the first time, something to be aware of. Marvel Rivals is a third-person shooter over the right-hand shoulder. That means if you place yourself on a left-sided angle or left side cover, you can use that to your advantage by using all the information gathered on your right side of the screen. It's so good that your player model won't even be sticking out and you still can gain a ton of information. And it's also extremely helpful to a lot of the heroes in the game. Take Hawkeye for example. You don't even have to expose your player model and you can easily gain 100 charge, then go for a quick peek onto someone. This allows you to build charge safely and go for an easy elimination right away and then go back to safety again. Now following that, let's talk about positioning shifts depending on hero and situation. Now here's the key that separates good players from great ones. Positioning is dynamic. It shifts based on your role, your cooldowns, and what's happening in the fight. For tanks, typically you want to stay up front, body blocking, and lead rotations. You're not just absorbing damage, you're shaping the fight. Following that, we have our DPS or our duelists. You're the damage engine. Look for off angles, high ground, or flank routes. The best DPS players don't just shoot, they appear where they are least expected. Now, as a support or a strategist, always position with line of sight to allies, near cover, and an escape plan. You are the biggest target the second the enemy team spots you, so be ready to reposition constantly. And most importantly, if you get dived, it's probably not just because the enemy's good, it's because you are in the wrong spot to begin with. So if there's one mindset shift I want you to walk away with, it's this: don't just play your hero, play the space your hero controls. With that out of the way, let's talk about sightlines, because this is where players get punished the most and they don't even realize it. If an enemy can see you, they can shoot you, and if they can shoot you, you're not just taking chip damage, you're opening yourself up to focus fire, crowd control, and yes, those game-changing ultimates. So how do you fix this? You have to control visibility. You need to decide who gets to see you and when. When it comes to sightlines, let me give you an example. Here's the classic mistake: a DPS player just chilling in the middle of the lane, wide open, exposed from 3 different angles. Now, when you're in this type of scenario, I like to say that this player isn't in a 1v1. They're actually in a 1v3. And that's a fight they'll lose every single time. I say it's a 1v3 because you can get attacked from 3 different angles. Now let's see the same hero, same situation, but watch what happens when they hug this wall. They are peeking with intent. They are only visible to one enemy at a time. They fire, then immediately duck back. It's clean, it's controlled, and more importantly, it's hard to punish. Just like how I'm going to punish you if you don't like and subscribe. It had to be said, it fit pretty well. Think of corners like filters. You're deciding how many threats you're willing to deal with. The fewer enemies that you can see, the fewer variables you have to react to. That makes your duels cleaner and your decisions sharper. And this honestly applies to every role. Whether you're a support trying to survive or a flanker trying to pick off squishies, controlling your exposure is everything. Next is a general or pro tip. If you're visible to 3 enemies, in my opinion, you're feeding. If you're visible to 1, you're playing smart. Here's a little bit of a deeper layer. Sightlines shift as players rotate. A safe angle 5 seconds ago might get you sniped now or caught out. Always check your flanks, reposition between shots, and break line of sight often. You have to remember you're not a turret. You're a threat that needs to move to stay alive. Positioning isn't static. It's not a checklist you complete once per match. It's essentially a living thing. It changes with context. It shifts with your health, enemy cooldowns, your team's ult economy, and even your map control. Here's a little bit of a mini scenario breakdown of situational positioning. You're low health, fall back, reposition. If you're low on health, don't just stick to your angle and hope for healing. Rotate back, break line of sight, and reset. A hero at 20 HP isn't threatening. They're a free ult charge for the enemy. Now, from what I see, a lot of players stick around hoping for healing while still fighting, and sometimes your healers can't reach you. Maybe you break their own line of sight, or it would be too risky for the healer to move up to help you. So you always need to be aware of what's going on around you. In my opinion, it's always better to play for your life rather than going out and trying to get that little bit of extra damage out. Because if the enemy team can get that one key elimination on you, it will completely snowball out of your hands and you won't be able to really recover from that. Now the second kind of scenario is your team is ulting, push with them. When your team is dumping ultimates, Magneto lifting them up, Storm raining lightning, it's not the time to hang back. push with them in secure angles, and apply additional pressure. Ultimates don't necessarily win fights alone. They need some type of follow-up. If the enemy just hit Q, respect it. Don't ego challenge a Hawkeye who just activated his ultimate, or a Hulk swinging wildly in his Gamma Smash. Either break line of sight, change elevation, wait for it to end, and then re-engage on your terms. And this fact is certainly true when you don't have some type of defensive strategist ultimate ready. Now let's be clear, your role gives you defaults but not shackles. Think of it like this: a support who stays in the same backline perch all game is essentially dead meat. A DPS who only takes frontline duels, easy to track, easy to shut down. A tank who never rotates or repositions with the team, well then they're not tanking, they're just feeding. Now here's what dynamic positioning sounds or looks like. Rotating behind enemy lines after your team draws aggression or aggro, then shifting to some sort of high ground after a failed push. Swapping flanks mid-fight to force enemy rotations, and playing tighter, more together when a support goes down. And pushing up or playing more aggressive only when the enemy team is staggered. Now here's a question that will instantly level up how you think about the map. What am I doing here? Before you take a position, pause for a half a second and ask yourself a couple questions. Am I creating pressure? Am I enabling my team? Am I safe if this goes wrong? If you don't have a clear reason to be in that spot, you probably shouldn't be there. Now there's 3 core reasons to hold a position. The first one being creating pressure, followed up by enabling your team, and lastly having an escape plan. So let's talk about creating pressure. When you're in this said strategic position, are you actively forcing the enemy to respond to you? For example, a flanker on high ground, a tank holding a corner, a sniper watching a lane, that's pressure. Secondly, does this spot enable your team? Does your position help your team make plays? Are you giving your supports line of sight? Are you in a spot where you can follow up on your tank's engage or peel for your backline? Those are the things you should be looking for when you're in a spot trying to enable your team. But with all that being said, I think you also have some type of escape plan. Can you survive if things go sideways? Do you have some type of solid cover to hide behind, an ability to retreat, or are you just vibing in the open praying you don't get chumped? Trust me, I've run into so many of those circumstances on my own team where I see some of my teammates going to that one and done spot. They either get one elimination or they get insta eliminated and you're never going to that spot again. You always need to think about the things that can be coming your way. So what exactly is the danger of no purpose positioning? It's kind of like you're wandering mindlessly with no real target, standing on high ground just because it's there or your team asked you, hiding in the backline doing nothing. This is what I call no purpose positioning, and it's where most players end up getting farmed. Every spot on the map has a job. If your position isn't doing work for your team, it's dead weight. And ask yourself these questions before every position. What role am I playing in this fight? What value am I providing from this spot? And what's my exit plan if this turns bad? Now this does take discipline, but if you build the habit, it'll change your game sense forever. Now with all of that being said, hopefully this video has helped you in any way, shape, or form of positioning better in Marvel Rivals. Now like I said previously, I didn't go into super detail for certain maps in this game because I have a new series that comes out every single Saturday at 9 AM where I go in depth about each map in Marvel Rivals. And do me a favor, make sure to like and subscribe, it greatly helps out the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.